So it's 5 a.m., just getting up and trying to get back into the swing of life. And this shit is tough. But right now, I'm about to get my daily journaling done. And once I finish that, then it's time to get to action. I'm heading to work early today. I'm heading in at 6 a.m. and to try and knock out as much as I can and then pull an extra full 2 hours out of my normal shift. So pulling a 10-hour day. And I'm excited. And what I'm going to be mostly talking to you guys about today is choosing who you want to be. And it's not a simple process, but life gets so much easier once you actually just decide to do it. And what I mean by that is one day, about a month ago, I sat down and actually began to think about, first off, who do I actually respect? What things, what qualities, and what type of person actually makes me, in a sense, envious of? How are you so bubbly? How are you so respectful? How do you go about your day? How do you go about life? What are the things that make you you that cause me to think you were good enough to respect? And something came to mind that I hadn't thought about for a while, which is there's very few people I actually wholeheartedly respect and would actually like to emulate, because of the fact that very few people go after their dreams, very few people are genuinely happy, and very few people chose the person they wanted to be. And so I sat down and wrote out all the qualities and traits of a person that I would deem respectful, cool, smart, funny, whatever else. And I'll read you just a little excerpt of what I ended up writing down. But before I get to that, the entire goal with doing something like this is dictating exactly who you yourself are going to become. Because at least with me, and from what I've seen with a lot of other people, is you tend to lose yourself in the world, as in the people you hang around, the environments you're in tends to have a big impact on who you are and how you go about your life. And that was one thing that I didn't like. After college, I feel like there was so many parts of myself that I had lost because the people I was around so often weren't around me to keep pushing me and influencing me to be that person or be that way, and so many different other things. And so now I'm consciously choosing who I want to be, how I want to be, and how I want to go about my day and go about the things in my life. And outside of just feeling better because I have a direction and knowing who I want to be, I feel like it's allowed me to actually work better, work harder, and direct my work in one way. Granted, I still have a lot more videos to make. I have a lot more things to understand about this person that I've created. But ultimately, I know that a new Terrell is coming out. And so here's what I had. Terrell Banks Jr. is the most charismatic person the world has ever seen. He wakes up every day excited and grateful to be able to live a beautiful life. He has a boundless amount of wealth and a family and team with undying loyalty and a heart that motivates the world around him. Terrell has a tenacious work ethic and an ironclad discipline. Coupled with his unbreakable focus for excellence and his unshakable persistence, he succeeds in all that he does with ease. Terrell has a confidence level that exceeds that of all his peers due to his self-assurance. No matter what the world says, Terrell believes with all of his heart that he is whom he says he is. Terrell has a ridiculous pain tolerance that allows him to push his limits to remain healthy and at the peak of his performance. Terrell stands on many principles that allowed him to create his kingdom. Terrell stands on honesty, truth, and this has allowed him to be trusted by all those around him. He always remains kind and non-judgmental, causing people to flock to his side to be embraced by his loving and healing energy. Terrell always gives respect, and in return, demands it from all with his confident and wise demeanor. Due to his ruthless pursuit of wisdom, he grew to be a man with great knowledge and creativity. On top of all his great traits, Terrell's a people person. Terrell's always full of energy and at peace within his environment. Terrell's a very social person, talking to people with ease and having wonderful conversation full of laughter and witty jokes. Most of all, Terrell is the pinnacle of bravery. He always steps forward to face his fears with his bold yet tactful confidence. And there's a bunch more. I printed this out before I added extra into it, and this ended up being like 12 pages. I set different standards for myself, how I want to go about social media, how I want to go about currency trading, how I want to go about building a business, how I want to go about investing, how I want to go about fitness, how I want to go about all the major things that make me me, while also creating a completely new person who does things in a way that I find just cool. Not looking out and being like, oh, he seems confident, so I think he's cool. No, I wanted to know exactly what it was that I would find cool, smart, respectful, loving about myself. I wanted to know what standards I would hold myself to dictate how I have to start developing myself now. And to create that character took 4 days. I started on a Thursday, and throughout the rest of that weekend, I was typing and deleting and rewording and doing so many different things. And to actually come back and read this and tell myself that this is who I'm developing to has actually brought me a really big sense of pride. And granted, I haven't been living like this the best. I've had this for about a month now, and there's only like 2 or 3 days where I could say I was even a third of what this young man is. But at the same time, I'm pursuing a better me, a better way of going about life. And so that's just kind of where I am. But anyways, sorry to ramble on for so long. It's time for me to hop over here and start working on my daily journaling. It's an amazing thing. I love the process, but this thing is something that I'll show you guys soon. I'll be selling this off of Gumroad and Notion Store, and this template for a 100-day goal journey is amazing, and we'll talk about that later. But let me get to my journaling. So I just got to the job site. We got about 4 houses or so in a line that we're working on. The first of which is almost fully completed, and we're out of there. But now, we gotta get this place finished up. Today, especially before my coworkers get here, I'm gonna try and finish trimming out the garage. Apparently Mark, and I think the other guy's name is Mark, finished this closet's trim. I'm gonna have to hit this one out and do the closet in here. Besides the closet in the bathroom back here, I've already done this closet. I trimmed out this room. But now there's just that closet. And I have to do this wall as well. I'm gonna need at least 2 separate sticks, 2.5. This closet's good. This bathroom we hold off on until the cabinets go in. I'm gonna hit this room really quick, this closet, and then after that, we're off to the races. So this is gonna be a pretty easy day, but like I said, we're starting early, so I wanna knock out as much as I possibly can before everybody gets here. So I think that'll make for a real good day. But I'll catch up with y'all soon. By the way, real quick, on the Wednesday before I left for my older sister's wedding, I was actually trimming out a garage at another house about 5 miles away, and I went to shoot a nail into the trim and it hit the concrete at the base of the wall, popped out and hit me in my left eye. And for like a day and a half, I could barely see. So I'm super worried about that. So I'm starting to actually use some PPE, make sure I'm good, because it's a beautiful face and I don't want to have to walk around like Zorro from One Piece with a fucked up eye. So I'm finna get to work. I'll catch up with y'all in a few and talk a little bit about more of what I was talking about earlier about being the person you want to become, but sculpting the person you want to become, understanding who that person is, how that person navigates life. Jesus, there's not enough light. Give me a second. But in a few, I'm gonna take a little break from actually cutting trim and putting everything down. I'm gonna talk to you guys a little bit more about being, how to decide who you want to become, how do you realistically shape that person, how do you make your own personal manifesto, and how do you just ultimately follow in the steps that I'm taking. Granted, I'm not the furthest in it. I don't know if I'm taking the right steps, but bare minimum, I'm starting. And so if you want to go on a similar journey, there will be some assets from Notion that will be in the description, but we're going to just be talking about being, the state of being, and what I see as the best way to succeed, which is sculpting a new self instead of sculpting desires to have something. It'll be more about how do I create someone who has everything I want, rather than how do I get everything I want without becoming someone new. Especially because the person that I've created in my mind and I see myself becoming is so much greater than I currently am. But let me get back to work. I'm about to do this trim real quick, get my measurements, make some cuts, put those in. And once I get that room, that closet, and a little bit of the garage trimmed out, I'll be back to talk a little bit more. Now, I got this room nice and trimmed out. All the corners are nice and fitted together. That one could have been a little bit better, but everything's good. And thinking about it, I have one more piece there. But before we move on to that, I'm gonna get these measurements here. Now, big thing I want to talk about, let me get those off and let me go find some good lighting. So one of the big reasons I feel like learning about the framework Be Do Have is so important is because I've had a great amount of success in a handful of things, such as graduating college before I graduated high school, ending up with 2 master's degrees at 22. And as soon as I wasn't a student anymore, I could not find success in life. There's a lot of things I started to realize I struggle with, but it all stemmed from who I was associating myself as, or who I was being. See, I went to school so long and I excelled at that for so long because of who I was being. I was always taught to be a student athlete, a student first, athlete second. And I was able to do both amazingly because I knew exactly who I was and what my goals and priority were. I didn't really party much because, again, I have education and sports to focus on. But once I lost being a student and I lost being an athlete, I still was living as that person. I would read all the time, type out stuff to myself, make goals, ideas, propositions, but all I did was write, read, learn, and work out. I never took a step to actually become someone different who used the skills of the person I once was, which caused me to struggle in a lot of ways. First, I couldn't pick a job that I liked because I never associated with that job. I had only been there to make money, which doesn't help you out. It doesn't get you anywhere. I wanted to get on YouTube and Instagram, but also I didn't want to be an influencer. I didn't want to associate myself as that. I wanted to build a business, but I didn't become an entrepreneur. I simply was a student athlete wanting to find a way to make money online. And it wasn't until I started to really think, okay, how do I become an entrepreneur? How do I become an influencer? How do I make these things of myself? that I start to make changes. Now, I full-heartedly accept I'm a YouTuber, I'm an Instagram influencer. Granted, I'll say more of a value creator. I want to create value through the knowledge I learn and create things that help other people improve on their lives. I'm also a currency trader. All these things I wholeheartedly associate with, and now I started thinking through the lens of what it means to be that person. And it's still early on. It's very much like with school. You start out as a kindergartner in whatever you're associating with in the game of life. As of now, I'm a kindergartner at being a creator, being a currency trader, being an entrepreneur, being all these different things. And it's okay that I'm choosing multiple things because humans are supposed to be so much more. Like, Leonardo da Vinci was a scientist, an artist, a fucking mechanic, an engineer, and all these other things. He had so many things that were associated and attributed to his life. But the biggest thing is he progressed through all those things over a prolonged period of time, and he was being each and every one of them. Now for me, I've started to take steps to become all these different things while still retaining the lessons I learned from who I once was. And now I'm trying to level up and progress through that. But we'll talk about that a little bit more once I get back to cutting this wood. Alright, so now we're back and we're going to be talking about the be, do, have framework. And before that, I have to kind of explain how most people, or at least how I used to think about things for so long. First and foremost, most people think, okay, I want to have this, so I have to do this thing. But realistically, they burn themselves out because they're doing things that aren't in accordance with who they are or how they perceive themselves. Like, for example, somebody who, no disrespect, is fat as hell, eats a specific way, and only hangs out with people who live that specific lifestyle, decide randomly, oh, I want to lose this much weight, so I'm going to go to the gym and I'm going to do this for this period of time until I have a 6-pack of abs, until I'm fit, until I can do this and I can do that. And whether or not they actually accomplish the goal, more times than not, they'll end up being fat again, doing and eating the same things that they were before, because they only had an outcome in mind. They wanted to have something, so they did something, but they never changed who they actually were. They thought, okay, now that I'm fit now, I don't need to worry about eating on this diet. I don't need to worry about going to the gym. I don't need to worry about this, that, and the next. And it fucks them up. The easiest way to actually accomplish and have everything you want from life is to choose to be a completely different person. Because realistically, and this is going to be super weird to actually wrap your mind around, if you think about who you are, it's just a bunch of conditioned thought processes that you live by. You realistically are not this person. You are realistically not whoever you assume yourself to be. Even your name was given to you. You realistically aren't whoever you think you are. You're simply the culmination of the thought processes of the people who you've spent the most amount of time with. So, to put it an example, for me, for a while I thought I was very quiet, very antisocial. I could put on a face and be very social, but I realistically didn't want to talk to people. And it wasn't until I started trying to create this new version of me that, A, I realized it's very easy for me to talk to anybody and everybody. I really do enjoy being bubbly, loud, playful, just fucking around all the time. But I chose to not because I associated myself with being a quiet person. But going back to you, if you want to do something and have something, you need to start with who you are. Who do you be? How are you acting and how are you living? What do you think about? You need to ask yourself all these questions, and then you need to get to the root of that. For me, I decided to think about, why do I even want to be an entrepreneur? Why do I want to do social media? Well, to the root of me, I truly do not like being told what to do all the time and how to do everything, because there's 1,000 ways to skin a cat.
And for years, that was one of my biggest, most normal sayings that I ever pulled out. There's 1,000 ways to skin a cat. So if I get the job done just because it's not exactly the way you wanted me to do it, am I realistically wrong? And in my mind, the answer is no. I like to do things the way I like to do them, and I'm completely willing to learn, but that doesn't mean your way is the best way, nor does it mean mine is the best way. Anyways, going back to be, do, have. So you need to start reframing all your goals and ideas and aspirations around who is the person who does these things without thinking about it, without giving any effort. It's just simply a part of who they are. Like for me, no matter what, no matter when, I will go work out just for the fuck of it because I like working out. It genuinely is something that relieves a bunch of stress for me, makes me feel great, and makes me want to work harder. So you need to look at, I want to be fit. Well, a fit person, without thinking about it, typically probably has some sort of diet. They probably stay away from certain foods. They probably don't do these things. But more than all that, for no other reason than the fact they love to work out, they go work out. It's the same with the hooper. You will never meet a hooper who will not be looking for a hoop run. And that's just simply how they are. They played basketball so much, they love basketball so much, that if at any moment they could have a ball in their hands, pause, they're gonna pick up a basketball and start dribbling that motherfucker. You get me? And so that's what I've been working on, where it was like, I took the time to create an actual manifesto. I took time to really break down exactly who I want to be. What do I think is cool? What type of people do I respect for this type of thing? And then I shaped what I find to be the most perfect version of myself at this point in life. And now all I have to do is live and act as that person day in and day out until I accomplish and have everything that person has. Whether or not I have all those things or I do all those things right now doesn't really matter, because what's most important is being that person until that reality comes to me. And it will be the same for you. Now, I'm almost back at this job site. I'm about to fully finish all the trim, which is super exciting, and hopefully the cabinets have come in so we can start putting those up. But the point I'm getting at is I'll be back in a second, and it's super easy to craft your ideal self. Doing what they do is a little bit more challenging, but we'll also get into that tonight. But also, fun thing, I'm gonna show you guys me going through and knocking out a couple fun tasks. There's a video that I'm practically completely finished with. All I need to do now is edit the captions and add motion blur, and that's it. And then I'm gonna be starting the YouTube video of the trip to San Diego. And once I get done with that, then I'm gonna back test for a little while. And once I finish that, then the fun happens. And we'll talk about the fun later. 1 second. Alright, now we're in the office space. Took a little power nap after I got off of work. I was talking to my girl. Mid-conversation, I fell asleep. But luckily, it was only for an hour, and now it's time to get back to what we're talking about. But instead of talking to you guys like this off my GoPro, I'm actually gonna talk to you off my camera. So catch you in half a second. Alright, so the plans got changed quite a lot, and I wasn't expecting things to be this way, but I started trying to get this video worked on, and apparently the video files were extremely large, so I didn't get a chance to actually do half the things I was expecting to do due to render times and my computer moving extremely slow. I need to hurry up and go get a Mac Mini or maybe a iMac, but let's get back to this. Now we're going to talk about how to do and actually take steps to become the person that you want to be and the person that you've crafted. And it's realistically super simple. I'm not going to say easy, but it's very simple. Once you know exactly who you want to be and you've crafted the ideal person for you,
then the next biggest thing is, first off, every single day, read who that person is so that you understand them. You start to question how they became that way. And the biggest thing is, if you take time to think about who that person is and you understand how they are, then you need to start thinking through the lens of if you are that person. Ultimately, the goal should be to act as if you are that person, and in every situation, ask yourself, what would this person do? If this person is this way, what would they do? Well, for me, I started to feel a little bit bad when I was in the gym. My stomach was hurting, my head didn't feel right, and I was walking out of the gym and saw this guy I hadn't seen in about 2 years. And I was like, oh shit, I know his name, JT, it's my boy. And I was like, I don't really want to say anything, but I'm Terrell, a very bubbly person who loves talking to people. So I stopped him. I was, hey, JT, long time no see. How you doing? Shook hands with him. We chopped it up for about 30 seconds, and I was like, hey, how often do you come here? He was like, oh, I actually just got my gym membership, so I've started coming, but I've only been around for like a month. And I was like, bet. I'll see you soon, and I'll make sure to talk to you next time. Right now, I don't feel the best, so I need to get home and, hit the sheets. It was like, all right, cool, bro. We dapped each other up, gave each other one more smile, moved on about our way. But that was the point. In that moment, if it was the me of the past, I would have just kind of walked past and acted like I didn't know him because I didn't feel good. But now I'm Terrell. I'm a new person, and you guys got to see exactly what I think the new Terrell, the coolest version of me, the best version of me, the person I respect most outside of, my role models, but the version of me I respect most would be like. And because of that, I was like, no, let me slow it down. Let me actually say hello, talk to him, give a buddy some dap, give him a hug, boom, bada bing. And so once you know who it is you want to be, you need to focus, you need to fight, you need to work to make sure that every situation is framed through the lens of the specific person you're becoming. And don't take any drastic steps. For example, the new me is an entrepreneur. He's a king. He's a real estate mogul. He is a cool guy. So he wouldn't be doing trim and construction and doing all the things I'm doing right now. But based on the place I am in life right now, I know once I get all my responsibilities done, my job, I know where I can turn my attention to next and what he would be doing. He would be filming just like this. He would be looking at real estate. He would be trying to find leads for his business. He would be setting up systems and automation so that he can streamline the work to make himself as much income as possible while not having to do as much work as possible. And so the point is, once you know exactly who you want to be, then you need to start thinking of everything through the lens of who that person is. Because the best version of you is not thinking of the same things as you think. For example, think about when you see somebody change. At one point, they were super bright, bubbly, smart, educated, doing their thing. And for whatever traumatic reason, for whatever happened in their life, they ended up going down the wrong path. They're alcoholic, dependent on drugs, unemployed, sitting at home, doing nothing with themselves. Those two people, one, are not the same. Second, they don't think the same. The thoughts that run through their minds, the decisions that they make, the ways they go about situations are completely different. So the first and most important step to actually being able to do what the person you want to be actually does is to think a different way. Because the actions you take are predicated on the thoughts that are in your head. So if you're constantly thinking about sweets and junk food and sitting on the couch and doing nothing, well, obviously, if you're not thinking about going to the gym, you're not going to do it. If you're not thinking about what healthy meal you want to cook, then you're not going to eat it. If you're not thinking about how cool it is to do this or do that, you're not going to take the steps to do that. And so the first step, again, it's to think like that person you want to be thinks. And once you think like that person, you start framing everything through that, then start doing the bare minimum. Something I did that I didn't talk about is I set a list of standards for what this person would be doing. So I know on a normal week, the new Terrell is posting 5 reels per week. He's posting a YouTube video every day that he doesn't edit, much like this one. He just pretty much talks at the camera and gives the best advice that he can. He tells his story while also teaching the most valuable lessons he's learned. And through that process, he connects with an audience and he gives out that audience assets that help them improve their lives. That's a standard. And getting up to that standard just takes practice, which is why I try to do the bare minimum of the standards that this version of me actually has. See, right now I've posted I think I'm at 9 reels. I deleted everything off my Instagram and I started over, and I'm at 9 reels right now. And I'm in the process of doing more. Right now I literally have, and I want to say it's like 15. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 in the editing stage. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I have about 14 or 15 videos that are scripted, and 17. I have about 17 scripted. I have about 15 videos ready to be scripted. Like, I have the concept of it, the title of it, but now it's time to fill it out with information and a story. And I know on Saturday, once I get free time, I'm going to record, because I said Terrell follows a very tight schedule. And I decided on Saturdays, Terrell records videos, and that's how it's going to be. And so once you know who you want to be, you're thinking like that person, and you're ready to take the steps to actually do what they do, then you need to set standards. Once you have these standards, then it can dictate the minimum, lowest amount of effort you can put in to actually take steps towards becoming that person. Especially because once you're doing something, you get better, so it gets quicker and you can do more with less effort. And so that's the process I'm in right now. And again, I told you guys multiple times, I have not been living as that Terrell as best as I can, because I've still been thinking as the old me. I've still been doing things as the old me. I haven't developed the focus that the new Terrell has. I haven't developed the habits the new Terrell has. I haven't developed the income the new Terrell has, which would allow him to be at home more and actually work from his computer and do the things that'll make him more money to get me to be that person. But the point is, I know how that person would think, or at least I have a better idea and framework, so now I can start to do what he does to the lowest degree. And that's the open area, and that's the barrier to entry you need to actually start to become the person you want to be. Now, it's 10 p.m. right now. I usually go to bed at 8:30, so it's super late, and I didn't get to talk about everything I wanted to, so I'm going to kind of talk about more, but I'm going to hold off on Be Do Have for a few days and actually talk about something different. And again, I have a bunch of ideas on videos ready to go out, and so I'll actually pull one more specifically. Tomorrow, we will talk about turning our lives, or more specifically, my life, into a movie. Why I want to do that, how I plan to do that, and what's the area and avenue and point of even doing something like that. Because realistically, I'm just a normal person. I just feel like I'm a cool-ass dude, or at least the person I'm attempting to be is a cool-ass dude, and his life should be a movie. So I'll talk to you guys another time. Thank you for watching. If you made it to the end, I appreciate you. Hit that like, subscribe, and even comment and tell me what the best part of this was. Who do you want to be? What do you want to do? Put it all in the comment section. I appreciate you. I love you, and I thank you for taking the time to see who I am, who I'm becoming, and learn a little bit about my mindset. Peace.